guys. So, today I wanted to talk about the holidays. And before I begin, I want to say to everybody, I hope you have a great holiday season, whether you are taking time off, not taking time off, um, going somewhere, not going somewhere. I hope you have safe travels and just enjoy the time, whether it's with friends or family. Take some time for yourself. Just enjoy the time, have a good time, and be safe. Now, when it comes to the holidays, some families have traditions. Some, I think and I don't want to say stressful, but I do think sometimes when it comes to the shopping and like gift giving, everyone has a different process. I know when it comes to traditions, some families do have traditions. Some families have, and maybe that's just commercials, but I know some do the matching pajamas. Some, open gifts on, maybe Christmas Eve and do something different on Christmas Day. I know my significant other, they would open presents on Christmas Eve, and then it would be stockings on Christmas, and then they would have a certain meal on like Christmas Eve, and then a special lunch on Christmas, and then there would be a parade from like Christmas Eve, like that night. And for myself, like we really didn't have any traditions. It was more so, you know, it was for two reasons. We moved around a lot, so it wasn't like we were always around our family. And the second reason was my dad was gone. He would sometimes be overseas. And so when it came to the holidays or birthday, you know, he it was very different because he wouldn't be around, or different family members wouldn't be around. So I would say probably the only tradition, what I consider a tradition, would be the first kind of showing of the Charlie Brown Christmas. We would put that on, and then sometimes my mom would watch, and then sometimes she would like, and when I say half watch, what I mean is she would like watch some, but then she would go and like do something else. Then she would watch some, go and do something else. But I would at least watch it. So maybe that's a tradition, maybe it's not. I watch it here and there, like sometimes during the year. It's not really on the first viewing, like on local, on cable, but sometimes I'll watch it, sometimes I won't. It really just depends on if I think about it. But we didn't really have like a certain meal that we prepped. My mom doesn't like to bake, so we didn't really do sugar cookies every year. Um, it wasn't until I would say I was like out of the house where she started making sugar cookies because she said she found a good recipe, but then she only made them once. So nevertheless, we there just really wasn't any traditions. Sometimes, yeah, we would go see our family if we could, depending on again what state we were in. Sometimes it would be on Christmas. Sometimes it would be before Christmas. Sometimes my dad would be home for Christmas. Sometimes he wouldn't be. Sometimes, honestly, we would go on vacation for Christmas because that's when he would be on leave. So it just really depended on the year. I think another thing, though, when it comes to the holidays is just, and I think that's just an organizational thing, as well as I think not even how a family operates. And let me explain. I think as you get older, sometimes it gets harder as to, okay, what is it that you want as a gift? Because I know I tried to reach out to my mom. I was like, hey, what can I get you as a gift? Like, what can I get you and dad as as a gift? she gave me some ideas, gave gave me some ideas for him. Some were helpful, some not so much. And a lot of it just came down because she put gift cards on there. And so a lot of it is just gift cards because I'm like, as I was talking to her, and especially with the list she gave me for herself, it really wasn't long to begin with. She just kept buying things for herself. And I'm like, woman, I'm like, I'm like, how are we supposed to get you anything for Christmas if you keep buying it for yourself? So I think that's where it's very different. Each family is very different. Some families have the Amazon wish lists. Some have and I know this is more so for like if family members have kids where they'll like I wouldn't say parcel out, but like, hey, I'm gonna give this item to the like this uncle. I'll give this item to the aunt. This, that, and the other thing. So then you're not getting duplicate gifts for the kids. And I think that works out fine. And that's where it's always fascinating to me because I sit there and I'm like, I wish it was just that easy. And again, I think it's more so an adult thing, but also I think it's the household because one, some families don't really ask for much. And if they do, they know kind of what to set aside or like what they could wait on in regards to like, oh, I don't really need or want this right now. And so they could ask for it as a gift. Others, it's, oh, I just buy it. I need or want this now. I can just get it now. And so that's where it just becomes very difficult. Or there are some where it's, you know, I think for some, and I'm trying to phrase this right. That's why I'm having a hard time right now. I think everyone knows like the gifts are just kind of part. Like it's just kind of I wouldn't say there. It's not really what it's supposed to be. Like everyone's here to just kind of like come together to be more so for the Christmas spirit. It's not really about the gifts. You don't have to be there. And I think a lot of people know that. However, you still show up with the gifts because that's part of it. If you have people like me, it becomes hard because I could care less about the gifts. Like I don't care. I care more about I would say the like if you want to get a gift, you can. I don't care. It's more so about the thought if you were to get something than just getting something. Like whether you spend money, if you don't, if honestly you see a rock on the ground and you go, "Oh my god, this reminds me of her. I'm going to pick it up and give it to." If you see something and you're again, spend money or not, I'll like it either way. It's the thought for me that counts more than just spending money. I personally prefer letters of sentiment than I do, I would say more so the gift giving. Like, I have some people that I write, like, no matter what the occasion is, if it's a holiday, so like particularly Christmas, New Year's combined, because it's my holiday cards, and then if it's the birthday or like a special thing, I write like a handwritten note inside those cards because I that's just something I do and that's something my dad taught me or told me like, when I was younger that I should do. He's like, "Well, you shouldn't just write, sincerely your love or your friend or whatever and then your name." He's like, "You need to write more." And I'm like, "But dad, what more do I write?" And at the time when I was younger, I was like 6, by the way. At the time when I was younger, I'm like, what more do I write? And I didn't like writing. And my writing was atrocious, and it still kind of is, honestly. He's like, well, you need to write more. You need to show that you care. And I'm like, okay, fine. And I didn't really like realize that. I wouldn't say up until, I would say either high school or college, one of the two. Um, because that's when I started like writing more, or like I would text people, what kind of, my thoughts, or like, hey, happy birthday, this is how I feel, etc., and send it off. Um, and like people appreciated that. And so that's kind of what I do within my holiday cards, and I've had other people do that for me. And that's just something I very much appreciate, and that, I don't know, I'm not saying like, oh my god, you have to do the same thing, but honestly, that is the greatest gift you could give. I don't need I don't need like some big fancy elaborate gift. If one, the thought was there, fantastic. Two, if it is a letter of sentiment, I prefer that. Like, I don't need much personally. Like, again, I think a lot of people know when it comes to, what Christmas is, what it's supposed to be. It's more so like the the thought of giving, and being with one another and all that. And so it's not really about how much you spend on something, but I think sometimes, I know for myself, I get very, not caught up, but I try to keep things very fair in regards to whether it's, this is how much I spent on this person, or this is the number of gifts I spent on, or this is the number of gifts I got for this person, this is how much I need to get, or number, whatever the situation may be, for this person. Like, I try to keep things very fair. And I think too, that's where sometimes, I wouldn't say, again, I don't like saying it gets tricky, but that's where I think sometimes it can get very stressful during this time of year in particular. Um, and it shouldn't be, but sadly it does. But nonetheless, I think a lot of people still, it's those little stressful times, like that's probably, again, the little con, but you still have a good time. You still are able to enjoy yourselves. Maybe sometimes there is a little hiccup. I know sometimes there are hiccups during the holidays, but for the most part, everyone has an enjoyable time, a fine time. So, I mean, that's, I think, all a lot of people can really ask for. So, that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today. Kind of go over some things in regards to the holidays, share some of my experiences, my um my life in regards to some of those topics. So feel free to leave some of your traditions if you want, some of your thoughts, and I will talk to y'all later. And have a good holiday season, and have a good weekend. Bye.